Hi, Rachel Krager Ireland here with tools and strategies for living in your power in interesting times. And I have a 3-step dream work process I'd like to share with you today. Worth noting, dream work is not considered ideal for getting really step-by-step linear analytical kind of information, because the part of the brain that thinks that way competes for energy with the part of the brain that dreams and envisions and visualizes the big picture. So that's the kind of information we're going to look for in dream work. So I've been thinking a lot lately about the story of Mary and Martha. You know, they were friends of Jesus, not Mary, Jesus's mother, and not Mary of Magdalene or Magdala, because this is Mary of Bethany, and most of the women Jesus knew were named Mary for whatever reason. So Mary and Martha were sisters. They were followers of Jesus. They invited him and his entourage into their home at one point, and all these people arrive. Martha goes in a tizzy and she's doing all this running around, doing all the work, and Mary is sitting at Jesus's feet, soaking up the wisdom that he has to offer. And Martha finally gets fed up and she goes to Jesus and says, "Hey, look at this. I'm running around doing everything. She's doing nothing." And Jesus says, "Martha, Martha, you're doing a lot of stuff, but one thing is needful. And Mary has chosen the better part, and that won't be taken away from her." We don't know what happens in the story after that, but I think a lot of people are pretty uncomfortable with the story, because already you can hear the Marthas say, "Well, what would happen if everybody only worked when they felt like it? All the children would be running naked and hungry and snot-nosed in the street, and we'd be all up to our necks in garbage and dirty dishes." And I myself, however, have most of my adult life kind of identified more with Mary in this story. I used to try to be more of a Martha, be really efficient and effective and get stuff done, be really motivated, but I wasn't good at it. And the harder I tried, the less efficient and the less happy I was. So I kind of decided to go with doing what feels right and changing my ideas about what really needs to be done. I don't always know why I do what I do, but I go with my feeling, my gut feeling more. So now we're coming on the anniversary of the last day I worked at a paying job, and I wrote this poem. Not a great poem, but I'm going to read it to you anyway, because it gives you a sense of where my head's been at. It's called "The Value of a Dreamy Girl." Jesus didn't take away the better part from Mary, but why was that okay? Why should all the work get dumped on the one willing to do it? Martha busting butt day in and day out to keep the household running, the neighbors thinking that Mary was a loser deadbeat living off her family and never giving anything back. They were too polite to ask her what she planned to do with her life. Why didn't she help out her sister more? And what man would ever want a lazy wife? Jesus let Mary sit at his feet. But all the brilliance and wisdom, did they pay any bills? What use does the world have for a person who knows where to find a rainbow at the end of a storm? And the names of the lizards that live in the walls, who watches ice crystals form on the surface of a puddle until dark, but can't be bothered to put a meal on the table? I'm serious. I want to know, what is the value of a dreamy girl, not very good at doing anything, but loving the feel of the sun on her face? Once she rejects the blah and the blah, 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 what does she have to give, and who will pay her way? So you can see I was in kind of a mood when I wrote that poem. And then I went to bed and I had this dream that I was walking chest deep in really murky brown water, and there was a child beside me paddling along. The head suddenly went down, feet came up briefly and went down. And I knew right away, well, maybe this kid was just exploring something under the surface of the water. But I also thought, well, what if something is down there that grabbed them and pulled them down? Or maybe there could be some kind of weird gravity anomaly that made it difficult to discern up from down, and the child was confused. And if I waited to find out for sure that the kid was in trouble, it would be too late to do anything by the time I knew. So I just went down and I couldn't see a thing, but I reached out my hand, a little hand grabbed me back, and I held on, and I started kicking to go up to the surface, and I'm kicking and not getting there, and I'm kicking and not getting to the surface. And I became semi-lucid at this point, and I knew this was not the end. This wasn't the whole story. There was something else that I wasn't getting, and I could only guess that it was that I could breathe underwater unknowingly. So I tried it out, and sure enough, I could breathe underwater. How could this be? The only explanation I could think of was that it was related to this donation I had made a few months prior to an organization called the U Foundation. Didn't know anything about them. It just seemed like a good thing to do, to donate to this organization. And they had taken the money, I deduced, that I had donated, and they had used it to benefit me by giving me this upgrade in my abilities so that now I could breathe underwater. Didn't get me out of the water, didn't rescue the child, but it bought us a little time until maybe I could find a way to get us out or be rescued, or something else could happen. So I woke up and I knew this dream was the answer to the question I had posed. I don't always know why I do what I do or what the value of it will be. But sometimes the things that I do are investments in myself that will lead to upgrades in my functioning, so that when I need it, I might have the ability to survive and to rescue the childlike innocence in me and in the world around me, and save us from drowning in the muck and mire of an incomprehensible, upside down world. So if you're a Mary, don't let the Marthas get you down. And when you embrace your inner Mary, sometimes you can even give other people permission and inspiration to do the same, if that's what they want to do. And let them own their choices. So the dream work, 3 steps. 1, pose the question. It's good to journal it, I recommend, because that helps you to clarify what your question is. Good to say it out loud. I ask for a dream, giving insight regarding XYZ situation. 2, hold the question in your mind as you fall asleep. And everybody says, oh, I can't do that. It's okay, just do your best. You might still get a good result, even if your mind wanders a little bit before you fall asleep. It's fine. But the more you commit to holding that dream and to that question and to dreaming about that question, the better the chance that you'll have a really meaningful dream that will help you. And step 3, be ready to journal and write the dream down as soon as you wake up. Ideally, you have it right next to your bed and don't even have to turn over to pick up your journal. Have a flashlight if you need, pen, glasses, have it all ready so that when you wake up, before you get up and go to the bathroom and turn on a light and let the dog out and get a drink of water, write the dream down. Don't let it get away. So 3 steps. Pose the question, ask the question. 2 is hold it in your mind as you fall asleep, and 3 is write it down as soon as you wake up. It's that simple. I would love to hear your experiences with this process. Leave a comment if there's anything you'd like to share. Subscribe for Monday card pulls every week and ongoing tools and strategies for living in your power in interesting times.